Yeah, Deca-Dick.
Yeah, and that's because the testosterone does that. And then I took it out. I did some research, a lot of research on it.
That's the smoking gun. There's two types of Deca-Dick. There is the normal Deca-Dick with the prolactin, which I've experienced, and Dawson I'm sure has experienced and nuked it down with the anti-prolactin such as Caber, Prami. The other Deca-Dick is a hormone disruption syndrome that doesn't go away, similar to what I'm experiencing right now, and can yield ED for 11 years, 12 years. It all depends on your predetermined epigenetics, if you can tolerate doing this Deca-Only, as well as how your body freaks out when you switch it off of Deca-Only back to DHT. What's up everyone, it's Russo. I hope everyone is doing well. Today's ASMR video is 1907. Check out 1907water.com, coupon code Russo. ASMR Spritz Intelligent Elephant. Here's your Spritz noises, code Russo, Young LA, all other sources in the pinned comment below with discounts. Today I'm going to be reacting to Dawson, right? Dtren is no longer with us, Andrew, and I had beef with Dtren. I don't have any beef with Dawson. I congratulate Dawson on his Sigma upgrade from retiring Dtren, but I'm going to be reacting to Dawson talking about Deca-Only. Now, I've mentioned this in my big education on Deca-Only. I wanted to paint a different picture since I'll have Andrew throw up that I was recently castrated from a hormone disruption syndrome. And you know, Dawson's kind of playing with fire here in my opinion. And I'm not saying it's gonna happen to him. It's definitely an outlier syndrome that could happen, but I would like to highlight this to show Dawson the dice he's rolling, as well as, you know, I agree with most of the shit that Dawson says about the Deca-Only, but I'm about to read a email from one of my followers at the end that paints the horrible dice that he's rolling and that other people are rolling by following this protocol. By the way, this is the Transparent podcast.
Acne, bloating. So most of them either ran Deca as a base or D-ball. Dianabol.
So to catch you guys up, he's talking about the old school guys who would use D-ball or Deca. Most of them I think would do D-ball only. They had no knowledge of steroids. They don't have the knowledge we do now on how the body works, the pharmacology. But Dawson is referencing the old school style of cycling, which would require him to get completely off constantly. But I don't think Dawson does that.
Well, or they mix them. And I've tried Deca-Only for the last 2 weeks.
How do you feel?
Amazing.
Crazy.
I feel amazing. And people think, what do you mean Deca for 2 weeks? Hasn't kicked in. I front loaded it like 2,500 milligrams 1 week.
Oh shit.
Like I wait till all my tests was out of my system. I had a 489 total test on 70 milligrams of test a week. 489. Nice. I was pinning daily, which is low. Yeah. That's low. That's like almost natty level low.
Yeah, it's very, very low, but 70 milligrams is, I think, yeah, it seems like a good response for just 70 milligrams.
Yeah, and I wanted to see, I was doing that because I knew that I wanted to transition to that Deca-Only and no more testosterone for my experiment. And I tried it, I did my front load, a little NPP in there, and I've been on it for about 2 weeks, coming back from my surgery to build everything up again. 0 side effects. 0.
Wow, that's
and
nice.
my total dosage for Deca is 1,500 milligrams a week. 1,500, that's it. No tests, no nothing. No AI, no Caber, anti-prolactin.
No Caber?
So a lot of guys are like, no Caber. With Deca-Only, you don't have to use an anti-prolactin or an AI. With Deca-Only, right? Dawson's doing actual Deca-Only. It's not like he's combining 200 tests in there. He's transitioning to the legitimate Deca-Only camel cult that has been around. I believe started by Tyann Clark, was the one to highlight the benefits of Deca-Only, causing no hair loss, virtually no side effects, and very good libido as well. Believe it or not, you don't need testosterone for libido. However, I'm gonna paint the roll of the dice that won't impact most people, but is it worth rolling the dice?
Nothing, no. Everything, libido's high, erections, sex drive's high. My mood is way better.
So,
like super clear.
Deca's one of the compounds that increases your prolactin, like immensely,
yes,
right?
But that's with testosterone.
Only with testosterone.
You take the testosterone out of there, the Deca actually decreases your prolactin through studies.
Whoa, no way, I did not know that.
Decreases it, and people say, we can't do that because you're not going to get estrogen on Deca. You have no estrogen. It converts to 20% the amount of testosterone does. So you're getting estrogen with it. It's just a lower amount. And me,
and if you're running 1,500,
I'm getting more than enough, but not to the point that I need to take any AI.
That's crazy, bro. I'd love to see your bloods.
Yeah, and I've found other guys that did this online. A lot of guys have better blood work doing this compared to running the testosterone.
Interesting.
Just overall.
So yeah, I 100% believe that they have better blood work. Neurologically, it's not the best long term. I'll see if Andrew can throw up Leo explaining that.
Deca has a higher affinity to the androgen receptor. And by the way, the oxytocin system is also androgen receptor driven. So the androgen receptor controls the oxytocin system somewhat, which is interesting because of the dopamine there. And we know, I believe that androgen receptor signaling by itself upregulates generally the dopaminergic feeling in humans. So that's pretty interesting. But what they thought is the affinity. But you guys have to remember, you all know that Deca is so different than testosterone because of effect on other receptors. The main adrenal hormone, right? That was lowered, which is thought to be the case. And testosterone lowered the consequent most important adrenal hormone, stress hormone in man, which is cortisol, but in rats it's called corticosterone. So testosterone lowered the stress hormone, lowered cortisol, but cortisol rose with Deca. This is like unbelievable evidence that Deca literally stresses you out. Just taking Deca means that your baseline cortisol levels are higher and you don't enjoy pleasure. So just for your information, like when I had anhedonia, one thing that happened to me, which never happened to me in my life, is I started complaining a lot. I would complain all the time at work, like, oh, this did, and I would complain a lot about myself, like I didn't get this, I deserve this promotion, or not promotions, I got the promotion, but small things. But I wanted to summarize what's happening so people remember. So Deca causes a when Deca alone, consistently depressive phenotype in rats, and probably in humans also, probably consistent. Sometimes, depending on study conditions, it causes what's recognized as an anxious phenotype, and sometimes it doesn't. I think it causes an anxious phenotype, but for example, in this study, they also studied how much the rodents moved. These Deca guys don't move. They just sit around. The test guys move more, everybody's moving, but the Deca guys get slower, which is a clear state of this kind of melancholic depression. But the thing is this, so it causes you to be depressed, it causes you to be anxious. Anxiety and depression make people weird, as I just showed you, anhedonia makes people weird. I was complaining for no reason. Some of my friends were like, what's going on with Leo? Like, this is very unusual. So note, that's what I saw with these steroid users. Always complaining, always shifty, never stable, switching subjects quickly. Switching subjects unusually quickly. Whenever there's an awkward moment in the conversation, they want to switch the subject really fast. They feel this kind of pressure. They're also people who have suffered knowingly in the public with depression. Basically, it looks just like this phenotype. Now, finally, I want to mention, what are the pathways known comprehensively that have done this? The monoamine pathways, specifically dopamine and serotonin, but also noradrenaline. It's not clear how noradrenaline is controlling this that much, but serotonin is making them not have a sense of peace at baseline. Serotonin also controls other systems, like the opioidergic system, so that could be involved. Dopamine is causing them to have anhedonia, some of them to have anhedonia, and it is what causes anhedonia majorly. Also, the GABA system. GABA dysfunction causes dopamine dysfunction, I believe, which causes anhedonia also. I think there's actually a study that shows reduced brain-derived neurotrophic factor. Actually, I know there is, in the brains of rats with Deca, which would follow through. Remember, if you inhibit reuptake between neurons of the serotonin signaling, something consequently causes a rise in this very important growth factor for the brain called BDNF, which is like the IGF-1 for the brain or something, but makes you happy and preserves your brain integrity. This is lowered directly by Deca. So if you're on Deca, your brain is going to atrophy faster than a normal man. Okay, this is like a serious thing. Over the years, it's going to be like you're taking a mild antipsychotic at night. Okay, your brain is going to get smaller, and it's going to get weaker. And also, you're going to be, just because of the reduction of BDNF, you're going to be a bit more depressed.
Yeah, so like I said, Leo dug into Deca a lot. I feel like Dawson is coming from like Dtren, high test, very stimulatory, versus Deca's like relaxing. So it could be a frog in boiling water, or I could just be talking out of my ass with that, but it's two polar opposites mentally how he's gonna feel, and he might enjoy that at the beginning. But personally, when I did NPP stacked with a low amount of tests, so I've been scared to do NPP only, Deca only, because I'm gonna talk about this email. But I always felt depressed on Deca or NPP, specifically NPP. I never had the balls to do Deca because Deca stays in your system for so long. So Dawson's making a very big commitment, and he's getting the full benefit of Deca because NPP needs to be dosed. If he's doing 1500 Deca That means you need like 2,000, 2,500 MPP to even replicate the Deca he's currently doing. So again, I never fully committed to Deca-Only, but I would say that it would dip my mood down. But if I was on Tren, high test, high androgenic stuff, and I was all the way up here all the time, super high stimulatory, like constantly with my personality, and then I went to NPP or Deca and I was broad and stabilized, I could see how that switch might be beneficial to certain individuals. I always felt down, depressed, lower. I've never done specifically Deca-Only, NPP only, so this could be from completely cutting out testosterone entirely. And like Dawson says, you don't need an anti-prolactin when there's no testosterone causing that prolactin spike. A lot of the issues come from the testosterone being stacked in there, which is what the Deca-Only people are all about removing.
All blood work. Like maybe they don't run it as high. Some do. Some guys I've heard run up to 3 grams. No AIs, no nothing.
Holy
Not
shit.
saying people should do that, but some guys have done that and they get 0 side effects.
That's amazing.
No sex drive, nothing. Only side effect is that my sex drive might be a little too high.
So he says the sex drive's a little too high. So I personally believe that. There's 2 types of Deca dick. The one that he's not accounting for the dice roll he's doing, which I'll feature, and the obvious Deca dick that everyone kind of gets when you stack test and you stack Deca together. You know, you get it up and then it goes down. You get it up, it goes down. That's from prolactin. He's eliminated that variable. He's not going to get normal Deca dick, and he'll probably feel a heightened libido boost on the MPP. My libido never suffered with MPP until I tried to cause Deca dick, the first type of Deca dick, not the scary one that, again, I'm alluding towards more and more. I try to cause it, I caused it, I used the anti-prolactin, it went away, but I 100% don't think he's talking out of his ass saying his libido is not amazing. I believe that. I believe it.
And I feel really relaxed and nice. Like I almost feel too nice. Like nothing bothers me.
He's coming from all these stimulatory cycles, extreme stimulatory cycles. Deca is the complete opposite. Like I said, that could be his switch that he likes that. Personally, I just feel lower on it, and that's how it personally impacts me. Everyone's impacted differently.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah. So like I never have any like weird outbursts. I never just feel off everything. I feel like stable. And like it's almost like stoic, like how you said it before, like how you felt. That's how I feel. Like I could control how I want to feel versus test. When I run higher test, it was like, or even TRT, I would feel like
Aggressive.
not aggressive, just kind of pessimistic.
Oh, yeah,
Easily
yeah, yeah,
pessimistic.
yeah.
Like I just kind of just be like, just kind of negative a lot.
Yeah.
And I would be like, no, I'm not a negative person. Other people tell me that, like, you're kind of negative a lot. And I'd be like, I didn't think I was, but I am. I found it out, like, yeah, that makes sense. And since I've been on this cycle, it's like, that's how I've always wanted to feel. And Deca was a compound I hated because I used to run it with testosterone.
And your prolactin will increase.
Super high prolactin, bloating, acne,
Right.
I know, just depressed.
Yeah.
Sex drive issues, dick issues, whatever.
Yeah, that's pretty much what I got every time I ran MPP with tests. So taking out the test seems to mitigate all that. And I believe that from the Deca-Only content that I personally watched and read.
Yeah, Deca dick.
Yeah. And that's because the testosterone does that. And then I took it out. I did some research, a lot of research on it.
That's the smoking gun, is there's 2 types of Deca dick, right? There is the normal Deca dick with the prolactin, which I've experienced, and Dawson I'm sure has experienced and nuked it down with the anti-prolactin such as Caber, Prami. The other Deca dick is a hormone disruption syndrome that doesn't go away, similar to what I'm experiencing right now, and can yield ED for 11 years, 12 years. It all depends on your predetermined epigenetics, if you can tolerate doing this Deca-Only, as well as how your body freaks out when you switch it off of Deca-Only back to DHT. So that is the scary part of this. And normally when you get in a heightened sense of libido and you feel ultra libido and then you go try to switch back from DHT, that's where again the syndrome could occur. So I did want to feature one of my followers. I don't want to put his name, so I'll have Andrew edit that out. Hi Ryan, I hope this message reaches you. I just wanted to share my story in hopes that it helps you. I'm originally from the United Kingdom and I've suffered from post-Deca dick coming up on 11 years. Have 0 improvements from years 0 to 6. Started making big improvements 6 to 8 and made slower improvements 8 through 10. Years 0 to 6, I had no idea what was wrong with me during this time. As you're well aware, it was a living hell of symptoms. Low libido, dick was shriveled and cold to the touch, penis head was dry, and on a rare occasion I had an erection and was always soft and nowhere as near as big as it once was. Extreme fatigue, depression, unable to exercise, gain muscle, adona, brain fog, to name a few. I thought my life was over. I stayed away from all steroids in hopes I could recover naturally, tried natural herbs and supplements, test boosters, vitamins, spent a month in India at a wellness retreat, massages, contacted doctors, I visited endocrinologists, I had multiple blood tests, all showing my levels were fine, and being told it's all in my head. After having no luck with that route, I decided to go back onto testosterone and enthate in hopes it would resolve my issues if I had higher than normal test levels in my body. This did nothing for me. It was like my body wouldn't respond to testosterone anymore. I tried various amounts, 100 to 1,000 per week for a year, and decided to come off and start a PCT. He then goes into, one of the famous PCT programs he tried from a doctor and started to notice improvements, and that his penis size was improving. So this was after suffering for 4 years of absolutely zero libido. So essentially what happened to this guy, and I'm not saying it will happen to Dawson. I don't want it to happen to Dawson. I absolutely don't want it to happen to Dawson whatsoever. No one deserves to have this happen to them. But what happened is he tried Deca or Deca-Only. It's more risky with Deca-Only in my opinion, because you're switching the whole body off of DHT to DHN. You're reaping the benefits of having it on DHN and you're getting all the gains and shit. But normally the switch happens for this permanent Deca-Dick, the Deca-Dick that no one talks about, that is similar to Post-Accutane Syndrome, Post-Finasteride Syndrome, Post-Finasteride Syndrome. These are all epigenetic syndromes that switch how you react to androgens. Dawson, I cannot react to 2 grams of test right now. I'm shrinking every day. My wrists are getting smaller because I cannot react to androgens as I normally would, and it's going to require extreme medical intervention and a protocol that I am obviously terrified to do to try to fix myself. Otherwise, I will be waiting in this boat like this guy for 10 years, right? There's pretty much only one way out, and it's very risky. It involves a very risky compound that I have upstairs and I still am afraid to take. This is a living hell each day, man. And this type of shit, you are playing with fire. This is the dice you are rolling, and I'm not saying that Deca-Only isn't a good pick. I'm just saying when you switch a body over DHN and you want to go back to DHT and you are already experiencing that ultra heightened libido, I don't want to see you crash. I don't want to see you deal with this. I don't want to see your career ruined like my career is ruined from the fucking shroom pills. I don't want to see this. And I had this email come to me right as I was watching this Deca-Only stuff that I was linked on TikTok. I didn't write this email. This is a guy discussing everything he tried to do to get out of it, and he's, I think, 80% better, but I don't think he's, back to baseline where you're currently sitting at. So you could not be a genetically outlier predisposed to this, and this could be completely fine, but this is the dice roll that's being played with, number one, showcasing Deca-Only. You might have a follower that's more sensitive to Deca-Only, or number two, it might impact you. I don't think it will, because you already have messed around with it. But as you get older, it might be impacted. I don't know. This is 100% possible. This is the Deca-Dick that people don't believe in. And this guy suffered for 11 years with basically no androgen signaling, and obviously no libido if you don't have androgen signaling. Like, you still will get it up. Will you feel it? No. Will it be as hard as it should be? No. Will you have nitric oxide production? No. Will you feel your orgasms? Really? No. It's just like one of those things where I watch the Deca-Only, NPP-only people, and it's probably like 1 or 2% of them will experience the true real Deca-Dick that I was hinting at during this video, and they're not going to say it's real. And it's real. It's a risk and dice you are rolling, and I just wanted to sound that alarm bell for Dawson or anyone that wants to go onto Deca-Only. Think how many people tolerate finasteride and are fine. Think how many people tolerate Accutane and are fine. Think how many people tolerate SSRIs and are fine. How many people are going to tolerate Deca-Only and are fine. But that 1-2% will be in the hell for a very long time.
I found other guys that ran it, what they ran it at, and I've had no side effects at all.
That's
absolutely
phenomenal,
zero, and no hair loss. Like, some guys regrow hair on it, like on their head. Like, let's say you're natty and you do a Deca-Only cycle, you can actually regrow hair you lost as a natural. Yeah.
Why?
Because I think it has to do with DHN, because Deca doesn't convert to DHT. It converts to a weaker androgen called DHN, which is extremely hair protective. And it also is shown to boost collagen.
So I 100% believe you can regrow hair on the Deca-Only, he is right that DHN is the weaker androgen, and the problem with this syndrome is when DHT floods back after a weaker androgen, aka the same way when finasteride is trying to switch your body over to running on primarily testosterone or any 5-AR inhibitor. When the DHT floods back the most androgenic compound, it causes a freak out and most likely a silencing of certain genes around the androgen or estrogen receptor. So this is the risk of switching your body over to DHN completely and switching it back.
Collagen synthesis a lot, like 200%.
Deca will,
So if you notice,
collagen for sure.
if you look at the golden era bodybuilders from the 70s, how'd they look?
They look great.
How'd their skin look?
Nice.
Amazing.
Soft.
See, how did Arnold look? No acne, huh?
No, I mean,
Super smooth.
they were never really very dry, but they always looked.
That was
very,
it was like a
they
beautiful
looked healthy.
look.
It was a beautiful look.
How did their hair look?
Always fine.
They had full
They
heads.
always had full heads.
And these guys were huge. Like,
Yeah.
they were big.
They're big
They were running big dosages too. They weren't just running 2D ball a day. That's it. They were pushing it too, but they looked amazing.
Bro.
So that's why I did it, because I noticed when I run higher test, I look really aged, or my hair doesn't look as good, or it feels really greasy.
I hate the age look from running too many PDs.
Yeah,
I always
and
wanna
so
avoid.
I did that research, and I'm like, man, like this might be something that actually works a lot for me, and because I'm someone that responds poorly to testosterone, like even 500, I don't really get any strength increase from it. I just get like water and a little bit bigger. So I was like, I don't know, I'm gonna give it a try, and it was an amazing decision for me because it works for me really well.
At least 2 weeks in.
Yeah,
So far.
and I have a feeling it's going to continue to work because I've talked to other guys. I had a friend who's doing it too. He's 7 weeks in, the exact same way.
Wow.
He has high sex drive, like almost too high. And
Do you know how much he's running?
Same thing, 1500.
1500.
Yeah, Deca. And he's ran 1.5 grams a test. He's ran 1 gram of Primo. He's ran Tren, Nandrolone. Hated it. He got a lot of side effects. This is Jesus.
Bro.
Yeah, and he did Deca-Only. He says he's like, this is the greatest thing I've ever done.
I think I want to try it.
No,
I'm gonna wait.
Do research into it.
I'm gonna do research.
You'll find a lot of negative stuff because you hear no test and you're like, that's bad.
Yeah.
Don't do that. It's stupid. And a lot of people say that's stupid. But actually look into it and like look at.
So it's not stupid in the sense of, I agree that you don't need testosterone at all to run Deca-Only, and that if you want to reap the full benefits of Deca without side effects, taking out testosterone would be the way to go. It's stupid because switching your body fully onto DHN theoretically in certain outlier individuals could cause a epigenetic syndrome upon DHT returning because of the androgenic level of DHT being so much higher. That's the problem. He's already talking about how he feels like his sex drive is too much and how his other friends feels like his sex drive is too high. When DHT floods back, the whole body has reached a different homeostasis around DHN. Now, I'm not saying it'll impact them. They might be completely fine. But that email I showcased of 11 years of Deca-Dick, that's the sort of thing that plays out with certain individuals, and it doesn't fix itself after the cycle. And it's an epigenetic problem that could be fixed with gene editing in the future, or the carpet bomb approach that I'm about to risk doing myself.
Put up on YouTube, Deca-Only cycle, or
I have looked up Deca as a replacement TRT on YouTube, and I've seen some interesting things.
I learned a little bit from it. His name, I think, is Tyan Clark.
Okay.
He has a whole thing on it.
And he gave the OG Tyan Clark, the original creator of Deca-Only, the @
too. And he's been doing it. I learned a little bit from him, and he has a whole blog about it. He has a Facebook group about it. I'm not in there, but that's who I learned it from. These guys all do Deca-Only, or they do Deca and Mastron, or Deca and Anavar, or Deca and Tren. Like they run all these other compounds, and they don't get the side effects that they would get compared to when they ran it with Test. So like they ran Test and Tren, tons of side effects. They ran like a Deca and Tren or a Deca and D-ball, very little.
So basically, Deca is essentially the base, and you can run it with any other add-ons.
And
is there any add-ons that you want to avoid?
For me, I would say Primobolan.
So not Primo and Deca.
Yeah, unless you're running like a lot of like a D-ball with it. Because the reason why I'd say it's not a smart idea is because Primo like crashes your E2 really easily on Test. So imagine if you're doing it with Deca, it's gonna crash it really
That's
easily.
crazy. Okay, so same thing as EQ then.
Yeah,
but I would avoid
Equipoise is weird. It raises like E1 but crashes E2.
But hell, it crashes E2.
Yeah,
I hate EQ.
With Deca-Only, the reason why I wouldn't even run Primo is because using Deca by itself will give you a drier look already than testosterone. So you will look
because
drier.
your E2 is lower.
It's stable. Your prolactin's lower, and you're not getting water retention. Deca actually doesn't give a lot of water retention by itself at all. It just
really.
So it essentially is. Like, look, it's very similar to like a Primobolan if your diet's on chat. So you don't, but you have a really good looking skin, smooth and healthy estrogen.
It sounds phenomenal.
Yeah, so it's like why even run it unless you wanted like an extra hardness, but you'd probably need D-ball with that, or you run a very little amount, like 50 milligrams for like a diuretic drying out effect, you know?
Right.
But at that point, it's just like just run a different. You already get it. You already got
You
that.
probably don't really want to add Mastron to Deca either.
No, some people like adding
people do like adding Mastron.
Yeah, like
Mastron's also a weird one too. It's more of like a serum, isn't it?
Yeah, I thought
it just masks estrogen, but doesn't really suppress it too much.
Yeah,
it does a little bit though. I know it does because
Mastron's weird. It never crashed my E2. Yeah, I've had a low sex drive on it and like brittle joints on it when I ran a lot of it. But you don't know because Deca takes out the joint effect. It makes your joints really good, amazing. So and you're not. I haven't tried it yet, but I'm not running with testosterone. So maybe by running it with Deca, it might give a different response. Well, because your whole chemistry, hormones are completely different now. So that Mastron might act a little bit different. versus
He is right. Your epigenetics have switching over to DHN fully. Your body will 100% be reacting differently to androgens. My fear is when people switch back. Now, they might never switch back, stay on Deca-Only forever, but it's the same thing when you quit finasteride. It's the same thing when you quit Accutane. It's the same thing when you quit SSRIs, or in my case, lion's mane. It's that cessation and the epigenetic freak out that causes the silencing of certain genes.
you're running with testosterone that already has a lot of DHT. Now you have like no DHT, throwing Masteron in there, you might respond differently. Or Tren. I knew a guy, he said he ran Testosterone, he had the typical Testosterone size, then he ran the Deca-Tren. This guy was his main, he said he was lovey-dovey. Like he felt really good.
Oh my God.
Really
bro.
nice. He had the same phenomenal effects, but none of the aggression, the negative mental sides.
That's all I would want.
His words were, I felt too nice. That's what he said. Like, he
Just like
felt,
what you feel.
Yeah. He said, I almost felt too nice, like lovey-dovey, like I wanted to cuddle.
What about your motivation and your drive in general?
It's stable.
Stable?
So imagine on test, I felt like my drive would be like really high some days and then crash down.
Okay.
And I'd just be like, what the fuck? Like it was inconsistent.
What about, I'm curious about how that might affect DHT, because, you know, since DHN is going to be more effective on Deca, right? Increased, then your DHT levels, like, would you say DHT levels are a little bit lower than usual? Depending on your
you'll probably have
dosage?
zero DHT in your body.
Yes, Dawson is right. You'll have 0 DHT. You will be switching off the most androgenic master controller compound for DHN. I won't sit here and bitch about this if the consequences weren't so extreme. And I read that email and you saw how extreme they are.
Maybe that's why you feel so lovey-dovey.
And
right?
the way I describe my energy and how I feel is constant. So I wake up, that feeling when I wake up to the night is constant energy. Like it's not super pent up like you would imagine high test, like you're like amped up, like ready to go. Like you get that aggression. It's none of that. It's more like I said, like stoic. Like you don't think about it, you just do it.
Right.
That's how I feel. I just go about it. Like on test,
there's like no anxiety about it.
Yeah, if I was on test, like high amount of test, like doing this podcast, I'd be like, I don't know if I want to do a podcast right now. Like I gotta train or blah, blah. On this, like I'm like, yeah, why not? Because I might get anxious because that adrenaline rush, you know, with test. Even when I'm sitting in my house, I'd get weird adrenaline rushes.
I do think this is all very related to DHT, because I do have one thing that I would have to challenge. What you said about the DHT is that I think it is very important to have DHT. To some extent, obviously not too much, and I think too much DHT is what results in a lot of guys feeling like kind of some anxiety, as well as like a feeling of like this is never enough, like they need more, like they wake up with like fuck, like I'm not really happy about this, kind of pessimistic about this, like it's like a driving, it's like it's the masculine hormone, right? It's literally the driver.
You're never satisfied.
You're never satisfied.
Yeah,
you're never satisfied,
and you have super high amounts of that, but you shouldn't have. And I felt like that anxiety, that pessimism all the time. Like I was like, man, I'm not good enough. I need to do more. This isn't good enough. I need to do more.
Yeah.
You know? And now I haven't been worrying about that. I'm more like, I am doing good. You know, I'm happy with myself. I know I will do better. Like I'm going to do better.
Right.
That's how I feel. Like no need to rush it and get worked up. Just do it. You know. And before I'd sometimes ruin my whole mood.
Right.
I just like
DHT, androgenic hypermasculization. What are my thoughts? Right. I'm not really against Deca-Only, but there's that inherent risk factor of switching your body completely from DHT to DHN. This is only going to affect the 1-2% of people. Those 1-2% will suffer to such an extreme degree that it's worth mentioning and sounding that alarm bell if you're thinking about switching completely over to DHN. DHT, people call it the enemy. It causes hair loss, causes aggression, causes drive issues, and overall definitely raises anxiety in high amounts. You might feel calmer on Deca, DHN. You might feel great on Deca. I assume Deca-Only you're going to feel great. Not the problem. The problem is for the certain individuals when they go back onto DHT, the DHT floods back. It's more androgenic than DHN. The body has already adjusted its epigenetics accordance to DHN to give you that extremely high libido, and you're adding in an even more androgenic compound that again is stimulating all the AR at once. Will your epigenetics freak out and start silencing or overexpressing, underexpressing shit, resulting in the true Deca-Dick? Not the prolactin Deca-Dick, the true Deca-Dick? I don't know. It's only going to impact a certain small minority, but that certain small minority is absolutely fucked because there's no epigenetic labs that you can just walk in and get your epigenetics fixed currently. That's probably like the next 5-10 years that I won't be talking about this. I'll be like, oh, well, if you fucked it up, then you could just go into an epigenetic lab. They'd pull your shit up on the computer and be like, oh, look, that your AR and ER are fucked up. Let's bump them back with a methylation change and set you on your way. We're not there yet. We're not there yet. Once we're there, then I'll say like, yeah, Deca-Only is great. There's zero risk, because if you get the horrible actual Deca-Dick, you know, the nasty one, then you could go to an epigenetic lab and get it edited. Right now, it doesn't exist, and you'll be in a hell that you don't want to be in. That's just my warning. And again, I don't really disagree with anything Dawson said about Deca-Only, other than the fact that it is extremely risky to switch the body completely over to DHN, and that is something that is not talked about a lot. And it's not talked about because people won't believe those certain individuals who get the true Deca-Dick. Because, right, I've gotten the, you know, the garbage Deca-Dick of too high prolactin, my sex drive kind of dips, it gets soft hard, and then it stops getting hard, and then you take the anti-prolactin, it comes back. This is more involved with DHN being the primary androgen that's the most androgenic, your body switching all its epigenetics around DHN being the primary androgen and then flooding the body back with DHT, causing changes. That's what I'm getting at, and like you can see from my email, coming up on 11 years, had 0 improvements from years 0 to 6. So 6 years of his life, absolutely no libido. It's a risk and the dice roll you're gonna take with Deca-Only. I just hope that everyone understands that. I will see you guys in my next video.